I didn't know anything about grounding. I had never heard of it at all, but I became a new mom, and I had my first child, and she had colic, and she cried and cried and cried.
Okay, so we're doing our little experiment. We're going 20 minutes a day barefoot.
First thing I did, being a physician myself, was take her to the pediatrician, and remember distinctly leaving that pediatrician's office with a knot in my stomach, because the first thing they told me is, it's a baby, let him cry. Literally the only time I noticed that she wasn't in pain, and the only time I could soothe her, was when I was outside and I was barefoot and I had her in my arms. And every time we were outside, she relaxed. I noticed if I did use a stroller or if she was in a car, she was still in pain and uncomfortable. This is not placebo effect. Like, she had no idea if I was wearing shoes or not. She doesn't know that. I'm holding her either way. And I just slowly started realizing this child can only take a nap and feel comfort as if she was on my skin, held skin to skin, and I was barefoot. She'd be dead asleep, and if I stepped in the house and took both my feet off the ground, she would wake back up and the pain response would come back. And I didn't know what it was called, and I didn't at that time feel comfortable thinking about using it in my conventional medical practice, but I just knew that this is what I'm gonna do to help my child. I was working with a mentor of mine, and she recommended that I ground my energy. I didn't know what she meant by ground yourself, so the first thing I did was go home and look it up on the internet, and through doing a search about grounding, I found Clint Ober's work and the book about earthing, and I realized that it's a real thing and a real healing modality with tons of medical literature behind it. The light switch went on, and I thought, we're doing things completely backwards here. A typical day for a child is completely ungrounded.
You think about the last time you were barefoot, like in nature, it probably wasn't very recently, you know?
Can you walk us through it? What is the, let's earth.
Yeah,
what is my
let's
first step?
Take the shoes off, take the shoes off.
Activities, which are either indoors or if they're outdoors, they are literally required to wear protective gear. I mean, even if they're exercising for 2 hours after school, 100% disconnected from the earth. And then they go home and they go inside and they eat dinner and they do homework all hours of the night, and then they pass out in an ungrounded bed. So that's a 24-hour period of time completely ungrounded, and that goes on day after day after day.
Okay, let's do everybody else. Try to keep your head down. There you go. Now, think about your back. We're going to just one step. 1, 2.
I was at a retreat weekend for a group of women. It's called Inspire through our national association. It's for teachers who don't take care of themselves, teaching us how to. The first day I got there, and our leader said, you need to go ground. And I'm like, okay. They grounded us, and within that half hour, there was no need for medication, and I had been taking 2 Motrin every 4 hours for almost 3 weeks. The district that I am in already actually has, with Clinton, a school that has a grounding classroom. One of the reasons that the other teacher pushed so hard to get this room, she had a group of students that had significant behavior issues, and they would rip their shoes off and go running out of the room, and they would all over campus looking for them. They would always find them in the planters by the trees.
But I had one teacher tell me in a special ed class that they had runners. And what a runner is a kid who just runs out of the classroom, and they take off, and everybody has to go find where the student is. I realized that these kids who are the runners, they're running out to the far back corner of the school campus, and it's the only place that has grass, and they're sitting down on the grass.
And so I went back and I talked to my special education director, and I said, can we try this? Can we try this with some of our students with autism? I brought it into my room, and I have a student with autism, very severe autism. He's completely nonverbal, and you know, it's a good day when I can get this child to sit for 10 seconds. I pulled my mat out, I cleaned it off, and I took his socks and shoes off, put his little feet on it. That boy sat for 7 minutes straight and played with me. He sat for 7 minutes straight. So I took that back to my boss, and that is something that our school district is looking into, is getting more schools with classrooms that have grounding in them.
3. There you go. He got a full second.
My experience with grounding was that the first day we did it in here, I felt energized and like I could run forever. And the next day I tried it and I walked my dog a couple miles barefoot in the neighborhood. And the next morning I realized that I'd gotten up from my alarm first thing, and I never do that. And got up, made breakfast, and felt energized the whole day.
All right, my first day with grounding, Mr. Millette showed me, or told us about it. We went outside, did it for about 20 minutes. It felt great. Woke up, or went to bed later that night, normally than I should have. Woke up that morning right before my alarm. I really just jumped out of bed, and I was like, dang, it really must, work. And I felt energized the whole day, and that's when we started doing it every day.
The first day Millette showed us the grounding, I just felt a lot better throughout the day. My head was a lot more clear than it usually is. And then every morning I wake up around 5 o'clock to go to the gym. And usually it takes me 10, 15 minutes to get out of bed, but now I just jump out of bed without an alarm. So.
Now he's doing crane. That's when you do crane. My story is I've been doing it for a good while, and it's just one of the tools I use in my toolbox, along with yoga and eating well. And I try to feel like 39, but some days you just want to feel like 15. Yeah, that's a good stretch. Yeah, that's a good stretch. All right, I like that. Now we're got to walk it back. Okay, back in the squat, back in the squat. Okay, all right. Okay, that's all. Woo! Ready to go. That make you dizzy.
It really makes you feel better in the
A
morning.
whole lot better.
Like it's
You're gonna go to sleep.
All right, the story of the book is truly too green.
What truly true?
We're gonna find out.
Well, I am not.
All right, there was once a small seed who was popped open the brown earth, wearing a new green dress. The sweet small seed remembered being wrapped in the lovely warm earth blanket when her form was frail and her color plain. She was nestled, perfect for napping. But today in the yellow light, the sweet small seed saw her lovely new frame and determined that she was no longer a seed. I'm too green
To notice of many things, but especially her green made about her grassy world. She drew in the fragrance of honeysuckles and watched red ants build great speckled pyramids. She counted the spots on the
Decided to pay close attention to what they were like. She carefully inspected the green dresses who looked tremendous.
bottle green body.
No.
And all the amazing sights on her side of the stalk. The young one began to wiggle her toes deeper into the warm brown earth and to twist her growing green shoulders further toward the daylight sun.
1130. Laura was now speaking with Charlie Duke, the 10th man to walk on the moon on Apollo 16, and the director in Houston to guide Apollo 11 and Neil Armstrong to become the first man to walk on the lunar surface.
ATA at a descent. Post control, both auto, descent engine command override. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Okay, they want to know, how excited were you when you put your first footstep on the moon?
Well, I was like a little kid.
Charlie Duke also did this interview barefoot. He too understood that the ground beneath our feet is a natural treatment table for what ails us. He saw it all as intelligent design.
Now I look back on my adventure, and there's a psalm that says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the works of his hand." And it is not an accident, it's not a chance. It's just an orderly universe that we see, and the planets in their courses, and the stars, and all of the physical laws that are so repeatable over and over and over again. And I see God's hand in that.
Laura had a deep knowledge of how grounding works. She had no reservations in inviting me back to her home in Charleston, South Carolina, to explain all this. It was in Dr. Conover's home that I could see her vision and understanding about how earthing works and what it can do for humanity. But then she didn't stop there. It seemed there was this inner drive to suggest this comprehensive healing modality through her many painted creations. So profound, yet so simple, that even a preschooler could comprehend. Dr. Conover was very much aware of the scientific research conducted over the past 15 years on earthing. She believes the future of healthcare will be vastly different for her children because of it. Before I left, she agreed to do more research on earthing with her own patients.